So just be prepared for that. Not too long ago, some large companies announced large layoffs. For example, American Express said it would be cutting 4,000 jobs later this year. IBM just began making what it says will add up to as many as 100,000 cuts. And Coca-Cola announced 1,800, we should say. If you or someone you love faces something like this, there are some details you're going to want to be aware of. And here with everything you need to know is our lifestyle lawyer, Shari. Oh, Shari, thanks so much for coming in this morning.
Sure.
The first question that I want to ask you, obviously getting laid off is not fun. And on a larger scale, it means a couple of things here. Severance packages. We used to hear of those a lot back in the day. Do we still hear?
Well, larger companies do provide severance, which is a good thing. But one thing you want to be really careful of, Holly, is that that doesn't bump you up into a higher income tax bracket. There are some strategies. If you plan ahead, though, you can, for example, make a higher 401k contribution, or if the severance pay is coming near the end of a year, you can ask to receive part of it during this year and part of it during next year. You just need to make sure that you plan ahead.
What about potential issues with your retirement account if you're laid off?
Good question. Well, if you're planning on retiring and you have a pension, the biggest decision that you have to make is going to be whether you take that in one lump sum or in payments. And that's really going to depend on how long you're going to need the money and how much return you can get on the investment if you take the lump sum and you invest it. Now, if you have a 401k, the biggest decision is going to be, do I leave it with my current employer's plan, or do I move it into a new employer, or do I set up my own IRA? Because remember, if you take 401k money before you reach the age of 59, there's a 10% penalty,
Sure.
But there is an exclusion for folks who are laid off at age 55 and a half or older, so that's something to remember.
So you really have to sit down, do the math, and see what works.
Planning ahead, just like any financial decision.
Health insurance coverage, what happens there when you're laid off?
Well, most severance packages include a certain amount of months of health insurance. This happens to be the #1 area where you can negotiate, so you may want to ask for more, whatever it is that they're giving you. The other thing is that it used to be that when we were laid off or without insurance, we would go for COBRA. Unfortunately, that's very expensive, but we do now have another option with Obamacare. So you want to check out the prices under the healthcare exchange, and then always plan ahead and fit in as many of those doctor's appointments, fulfill as many of those prescriptions as you can while you're still working, so that you can avoid having to work on the reimbursements yourself and having to fill out all that paperwork. You know, the point is that being laid off obviously is a traumatic, emotional type of a situation, but there are little sort of silver linings and opportunities if you think it through and plan ahead.
You almost hate to talk about a topic like this, but this is kind of a reality for a lot of people right now. We just read all those numbers, so something they definitely need to think about and get busy doing. Shari, thanks so much. Mike, back to you.